Hey everybody, welcome to Streamline. I'm Jim Williams, and today we're going to be talking all kinds of stuff. We'll talk sports, we'll talk regular TV, and let's jump into it. We got a bunch of questions on Twitter, we got a bunch of questions on YouTube, and alike. So jump in, let's have some fun. Here we go. Let's see, we got our first comment, and let's see what we got here. Brent. Hang on, Brent. Let's start at the top. Brent's question, and that is covering a lot of topics behind the scenes. But Big East, yeah, actually, the Big East was a bigger mess. I mean, it honestly was a big mess, and the reason it was such a big mess is because, you know, not unlike the Pac-12, there were factions in it where you didn't know. So they would meet and they'd say everything's fine. And then the next day somebody would drop out. So it was more of a lingering death at the Big East than it was here in the Pac. The Pac could go depending upon how the schools decide, right? There's 10 schools. You need 8 of them to pass a media rights deal. Any one of those, 2 drop out and you don't have a deal, which means you don't have a grant of rights. Okay, so it puts the conference in jeopardy. So there was a lot of nasty going on back in those days, and anybody from West Virginia will tell you this, tell you how it was turned out. Syracuse didn't want to go, but they went. Boston College wanted to go, but didn't want Connecticut to go, and so Connecticut got left behind. So yeah, it was Game of Thrones stuff back in those days, but it hasn't really changed much. Only most of the Game of Thrones stuff is going on Twitter these days. All right, let's check the next question. Texas, either Texas Tech or Oklahoma State, we're about to depart for Pac-12. Yeah, that was back a ways. Working remaining 12. What the theory of the case was back on that is that there were going to be 2 broken conferences, right? There was the Big East, which was under attack, and there was the Big 12 under attack at that time. And so there were a number of scenarios where many of the Big 12 teams and the Big East teams would forge this alliance, and ironically, that's where they trademarked the name the American. Okay, we now know the American Conference, American Athletic Conference. Fantastic group. Mike Oresco is the commissioner over there. But that was the name that was going to be floated out there. And by the way, BYU was in the middle of the negotiations to be in that conference. So it was very much an East-West conference, and they tried like heck to make it work. But at the last minute, as you guys know, Texas decided to get John Skipper was kind enough to give them from ESPN the Longhorn Network, which kept them back, and all 4 of those schools didn't go to the Pac-12. A lot of people continue to say, and this was wrong, that the Pac-12 came after them. They didn't. What happened was Texas and Oklahoma instigated a what-if scenario. Larry Scott, who was then the commissioner of the the Pac-12, said, yeah, if that would be working, if you want to come along, let's go. And at the end of the day, they really just got Colorado out of the deal. But it was a 2-way street. It was not, a poach as much as it was a, hey, what can you do for me? Because they also shot themselves to the SEC. So, and the SEC said, we don't want 4 teams. We'll consider 2, meaning Oklahoma and Texas. They actually got them later, as you know. But that was the deal. The deal was, who would give us the best deal? Is the Pac going to give us the best deal, or is it going to be the SEC? And it ended up that Texas got what they really probably wanted in the first place, and that was to stay in the conference but get their own network and basically have a right in a way to print money. Righty. Let's see. We got another one. Making a conference. Yeah. the deal with what they were trying to figure out, Brett, on the BYU deal was um, two things. One, they had an existing contract with ESPN, which paid them, I believe, $2 or $3 million a game at the time. Okay, so you have all of these moving parts. How do you make it where BYU could continue to stay under their existing ESPN contract for the home games where they got paid, not unlike Notre Dame's situation, but include them in the conference. So that was one of the stumbling blocks, but they were working through it. The other stumbling block which they were working through had to do with, obviously Sunday play and that whole routine there too. All of that could, I believe, in the end have been worked out, much as it was worked out when eventually the Big 12, who, by the way, passed on BYU twice, showed back up again. And so, for BYU, good on them. They got their deal done in the Big 12. I have no reason to believe it wouldn't have been done in the Big East, which would have then become the American. But we'll never know, right? Because it didn't have to happen. All righty, Riggs. We got Riggs here. Riggs, what do you got? Hopefully, talking about Big 12 changing its name. What are your thoughts about branding by the Big 12? I think that it would be a mistake to change the name. I think what Brett Yormark is doing right now from a branding standpoint and a marketing standpoint is really good. It's genius work. And Big 12 sounds like a really powerful group, right? Big 12, it's got that heft, sound to it. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. And I think from a marketing standpoint, they should have, a lot of fun working with it in Mexico and New York and wherever else they're going with the brand. So yeah, I think that Brett Yormark has a plan, and using the Big 12 isn't such a bad thing. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. With BYU Power Conference, how much is their potential media value now that they're in the Big Giant? I think, yeah. I mean, I was quoted in saying that it probably bumped the number from, say, 28 or 29 to 31. And the reason is that, not unlike Notre Dame, BYU has a world following. It has a following of people who didn't even go to school, right? What we like to call, subway alumni. So yeah, there's the value to what the conference, to them in the conference, I think is going to be, as we see them grow and we see the conference grow, I think that their personal value as a power player in the conference. I mean, you could argue right now that BYU is the most important brand in the Big 12 conference from a standpoint of eyeballs consistently being there. So yeah, I mean, from a branding standpoint, BYU within the Big 12 is certainly a help, not only to the Big 12, but certainly to the folks at BYU. Right. Okay, Brent. Pivoting, conference alignment. Common pitfalls. Schools administrators make PR rivalry. Yeah. Most of that, the mistakes they make, is either from a standpoint of overvaluing things, not paying attention to the fact that you can monetize the Olympic sports. I'll give you, for instance, the number one conference, the number one school in a conference that has won more titles than any other school in sports, NCAA sports, is Stanford. Now, you're thinking, okay, that can't be right. No, it's true. And the reason it is they prioritize their Olympic sports. And so by prioritizing the Olympic sports, they continue to win hardware in that scope, in that area. And most of those kids obviously are not going to go and play, professional. So they're graduating at a high rate. They're winning and showing that you can have academics and success on the athletic field. So, from that standpoint, I think that, that's one of the things that other schools could do. I mean, they could really feature the Olympic sports more than, they do now. Some conferences do it more than others, but at the end of the day, Stanford has set a very high bar there, and it's not a bad thing to have to emulate what Stanford did. As a matter of fact, it's something that a lot of people are trying to do now. Is that, I mean, look at what happened in the last cycle on the women's basketball, right? The women's basketball got ratings that were off the charts, and they did that based mainly on the fact that people began to enjoy watching it. So from that standpoint, women's basketball, you got women's softball. Women's softball is also one of the highest rated, non-football or basketball events. And, there's definitely a market out there for that. So yeah, there's Olympic sports that aren't being anywhere close to being used as much as they could. And that's, I think, one of the pitfalls that administrations make. Rivalries are important. It bothers me that Pitt and West Virginia don't play each other in the backyard brawl. I'm sure you all would love to see a Utah BYU game in the Holy War. I think that the rivalries make sports and make people watch sports who are even the casual fan, because they know about these two teams, right? They know that they don't like each other. They don't necessarily know why, but they do know that these two teams. And so whenever there's that kind of thing, I mean, look at how many times have we seen on ESPN or on most of the networks, the Yankees and the Red Sox, the Dodgers and the Giants, the Cowboys and the New York Giants football teams. Rivalries play well, not only to the fan base, but for the the casual fan too. So yeah, 100%. I think rivalries are very, very important, and shouldn't be taken for granted, because as I said, more people watch them that are casual fans than would just pick up a random game, because they know that there's going to be some bad blood here. And look at Army Navy. Every year, that's one of the great rivalries of of our time. So definitely 100%. Let's see what we got here. We got another question. Are you in favor of strong regional conferences to continue to go, allowing many schools to have normal regional rivalries and better college life? Absolutely, 100%. You hit it right on the nose. I mean, that's what the original concept of having a conference was, right? So that you and I could go to a school, and if I'm at the University of Florida, I could go up to Georgia and watch the Gators play. I could go to LSU. I could go to Alabama. I could go to Auburn. It's all within a reasonable driving space, right? Same thing in the Big 12. There's a lot of schools that are within reasonable driving rate. Back in the old days of Big East, you could take the train to many of those games. The Midwest, with the Big Ten, and also out west with the Pac-12. So all five of the power conferences at first were very regional, and I think that regional aspect of it is kind of what is the charm part of college football, right? I mean, the idea that we can go and watch a game if we want to, just get in the car and go out and do that is phenomenal. So I would absolutely 100% think that would be something that we should do more of. And the regionality, it's hard to say that you're regional whenever you got Maryland playing UCLA in the Big Ten. I think they got away from that. I think one of the things you're seeing with the SEC is you could argue, yeah, they stepped out of their footprint a bit, but from Louisiana to Texas isn't a large step, and from Arkansas to Oklahoma isn't that hard, large of a step either. So I think that the SEC is trying desperately to stay within their footprint. I don't think, which is why an FSU or a Clemson or maybe a North Carolina later down the line might make sense. I don't think there's any chance on the planet that they're going west of the Mississippi River too far to make that work for them, because they really, that footprint, that southern footprint has, done them well. And frankly, I don't think they care that the Big Ten might be making a little, a few more bucks than they are. They're happy with where they are. Yeah, Army Navy, that's a treat. Okay, we're gonna have Pete Medhurst on, who is the voice of Navy, and he'll talk about some of the great Army Navy stuff. But fun stuff, you gotta love Army Navy. It's a wonderful, wonderful rivalry. It's the purest of all possible, because very, very few of those guys are going to go on to play professional sports, and they know it. Harvard Yale is a good rivalry. It's called The Game, and you wouldn't think it because it's Ivy League, but absolutely 100%. Lehigh Lafayette, another major rivalry. Then we've got the historically black college rivalry, which Grambling and Alabama A&M, Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman. I mean, Howard and Bowie State. I mean, there's a whole bunch of rivalries which we don't necessarily think of right off the bat, but are 100% fun to do. So let's see what we got next on here. If you are Brett Muirmark in the Big 12 with the loss of Red River rivalry, what is the next rivalry pushing Premier? That's a good question. You probably would know this better than me. I think, I have to think about that. Kansas and Kansas State, I guess, is a rivalry that might be worthy. Help me out here, boys. How about Baylor? Who's Baylor got? Is that TCU? Or is that Texas Tech? I mean, I'm at a loss there. I apologize. I'm at a loss there for who would be the rival. Anybody, I'm open to thoughts on that one. But I don't know. I'm thinking Kansas State. Isn't there something between Oklahoma State and maybe I'm wrong. Texas Tech. Well, you guys will help me out on this one. I would. Baylor TCU. That's good. Yeah, that is good. You're right with you on that one. Who would you solve? It seems to be the Wild West. It is the Wild West. I think, Brent, that the best way to do that on the NIL is to use put together what in essence is a department which is subset of the athletic department, where you have financial planners and you have people who are from the outside business aspect to handle that as a business. Just so you know, and you guys probably do know, you're pretty smart, smarter than me. The deal that you might want to look at is that colleges and athletics specifically, and colleges in general, they're nonprofit. Okay, so they're not really meant to make money. And all these years that you've had, people in compliance officers who tell you when you do something wrong, they know all the wrong stuff. They just don't know all the right stuff now. So you have to basically redo that. So it's I think that what we're going to see, and check out, it's the drakegroup.org, DRAKEGROUP.org, the drakegroup.org. Andy Zimbalist, who's a friend, is the president of that. They're a think tank. They're working on that process right now. There are lawsuits up in going nuts. So at the end of the day, you're going to find out that we may end up with what in essence is a college football union, which wouldn't be any much different than the NFL Players Union or the NBA Players Union. Okay, so there's that. So there could be collective bargaining there. There's also the potential of a quote unquote minimum wage for athletes. I mean, there's all kinds of there's if you're an employee of the university, meaning if they're paying you, do you get workman's comp? I mean, there's 120 lawsuits out there. Any one of those lawsuits can just we're at an inflection point in college sports, and we'll see how that works out. But we'll get Andy to do that. He's the genius on that one. TCU Baylor, thanks for that one. I would not have thought about it. All right, let's see what we got. Well, even making a new one with the new team. Oh, I assume you're talking about the rivalries. Yeah, I mean, we actually when there's been a few of them that to your point. One that I can remember because I was involved in it was Tennessee and Florida. Okay, now you wouldn't think Tennessee and Florida would have any beef whatsoever, but when Spurrier was there, okay, Spurrier was from Tennessee, and he hated the fact that the University of Tennessee didn't really even try to to recruit him. So any opportunity he had to beat Tennessee was beauty for Steve. And the fact that Phil Fulmer had Peyton Manning there and Peyton Manning never beat Florida was wonderful. Gary Williams, outstanding basketball coach at the University of Maryland. He and Mike Krzyzewski didn't get along. So there was a rivalry within a rivalry. I mean, nobody's going to be the rival of North Carolina and Duke. That's never going to happen. But the rivalry between the coaches, that sometimes spills out into rivalries with the teams. Okay, so it's kind of fun in that regard when the coaches are heavily involved. So let's see what we got here. Could you create an existing rivalry from the media perspective? What would you choose? Baylor TC is one of the oldest, closest rivals of two small schools. Honestly, I don't know. Would BYU have? We know about the Utah thing. Or certainly, I've been schooled on that one. What do you guys think? I mean, I think you could do it. I do, but they'd have to be schools that would have some sort of real underlying beef there somewhere. You got to have something going, whether it's a former coach or something like that. But I really, let me think on that. We'll get back to that one. Let's see. 50-50, 50K, 50, what do you think? Yeah, I do. I think that'd be fine. I think the really underlying problem here now, and we'll get to all the questions in just a minute, is that the perception that you need 50% of linear. Look, it doesn't matter what conference you're in, you're going to have streaming. Okay, it's here now. Okay, so whether you're paying ESPN Plus, whether you're paying Apple, whether you're paying Amazon, whether you're paying Paramount or Peacock or any of it, it's all there. Okay, it exists now. So it's just dependent upon how comfortable you are. I mean, for me, if I could spend $50 or $100 or whatever to watch my conference, my team, and I know every game's going to be there. Okay, which is what Apple TV's plan, works with the MLS is. You can go and you can watch it, and you're there. I know where it is all the time. not having to search and find out where are we playing this week. Are we playing on the on CBS, which used to have the SEC? Are we playing on the ESPN or one of the ESPN family of networks, or ES Plus, ECN Plus? So I think that does it help? But here's the thing: it's not going to help the little schools. They never get on, so you're there anyway. So that's I think the secret nobody wants to talk about, right? Let's see what Kathy's got here. Let me just. Did we miss a question? We missed tons of questions here. Okie dokie dokie dokie. All right, getting right to you. Cord cutting continues to occur with cable networks. It looks like there's going to become a sweet spot where the fan can add multiple. Yeah, I think that's where it's going to go. It's there now, as I said, to an extent. I think a lot of it's going to have to do with offering a monthly offering as opposed to buying a package. So you're going to have an opportunity to buy what in essence would be an entire package of games, or you're going to be decide, okay, I just want to watch the football game, so I'm only going to hang out for 6 months and I'll cancel it and sign back up for it later. So yeah, the sweet spot hopefully would be $10-15. That would be a fair price, although I'd like to see it a little less than that, but we'll see. All righty, now let's go to, hey Katie, how you doing? All right, they're talking about playing up UCF and UH. This is Bay City game. I like it. I went to University of South Florida, so I kind of liked our war on I-4 a lot, but UCF and University of Houston, yeah, that might work. That might work. You get the you get the people who launch these the rockets into space, and you get the people who track them. So yeah, that'd be fun. I think that's a good one. Let's see what we got. I'm sure BYU could become rivals with people. They beat the living daylights out of my South Florida Bulls last year. I don't think that we were rivals to them. I just think that it was a bad day all the way around. You could probably fit. BYU has such a large following that I do think, and they tend to, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, please. I tend to believe that BYU plays a lot of Texas schools in their, in when they were independent. So they probably have some decent, ties and rivals in Texas to begin with. So maybe a BYU Baylor or a BYU Texas Tech or a BYU Houston might work. It's they got a lot of people down there, so we'll see. What do we got next? Okay. Yeah, you definitely could do that. The media is not at all adverse to trying to make chaos where there may not necessarily be it. So 100% on that one. So yeah, I got a couple of quick ones. Let's see. These are Twitter ones. You guys, if you want more, by all means, go ahead and hit me up with them. Here's one. Let's see. Would you consider ION and CW networks? Absolutely. ION and CW cover 100% of the country on over-the-air broadcast and on cable. So yeah, without question, both of them, and they're both. ION is owned by Scripps. We all know that Scripps has gotten into sports now, so that's there's no question that they are a network. CW 100%. They're Nexstar, which is a Dallas-based company that owns 140 some odd stations, which now owns the CW. So yeah, that would be fine. And all three of them actually. Nexstar, which we talked about the CW, did a deal with the Clippers now, and they're going to air the games on Channel 5, KTLA in Los Angeles. They're going to air some games out there. Gray Media, which is another big one, and they own KSL in Salt Lake, as a matter of fact. Gray did the deal with the Phoenix Suns, so that's kind of a cool thing. And then, of course, we just talked about Scripps. They did the Vegas and Golden Knights deal in Vegas for the hockey. So 100% there. That'll be some fun. All right. You're aware of the changes in the uniform colors this year. What will they be? Okay. You know how if you're Katie, you're in Houston. All right, we'll use you. Houston has, they're in the AFC, so they're on CBS most of the time, unless, of course, opposing team comes in that's from the NFC, and then it's a Fox game. What they did this year is they're allowing the networks to work together where you don't necessarily have to have. I mean, it could be, you could see on your CBS affiliate 2 NFC teams, like a Packers game against, the New York Jets, the Giants, I'm sorry. You can see that game, and it could be on CBS, while over on Fox, you can see Buffalo playing Kansas City. Okay, so they're doing that. It used to be the team that was the, opponent coming in, visiting team. That would be the broadcast entity. So if it was CBS coming into a Fox, situation, then you would see CBS get the game because they were the visitors, and they're taking that away now. They're also allowing flex on the Monday night games for the last 5 games of the season. What else is going on here that we should know? They're flexing the Sunday situation as usual. So NBC is not going to change. You've got a new Amazon Friday night game that will be played on Black Friday right after Thanksgiving. So that's a new one. And what else do we have coming down the pike here in the new NFL stuff? Other than YouTube having season ticket, that should be interesting, where they have the entire package, which used to be on. Now it's going to be high. Believe me, it's not going to be cheap again, and that has zero to do, by the way, with YouTube or even when DirecTV had. The league sets a minimum, and we're talking about Fox and CBS. They protect them by charging a fee that you might consider pretty steep, but that's the league. The league wants you to buy it, but they also realize that when they do that, they cannibalize the games of Fox and CBS. In other words, they're not paying them. CBS doesn't get any of the money from Sunday Ticket. The NFL gets all that money. So that's the situation there. So let's see what else. What else we got here? We kind of took a look at that. Are we going to direct to consumer soon? How will that look? We're there already. But if you're a soccer fan, you know it because you watch Premier League on Peacock, or you watch the Champions League on Paramount Plus, and other leagues are on ESPN Plus. So yeah, we are there. It's just a matter of what's going to happen and when's it going to happen next, right? So let's see. Okay. Yeah, but this was a poll question this morning. Do you think the NBA is second to the NFL ahead of college football? It's not really a matter of whether I think it's that it is. The networks think it is. And if you look at it, why, right? The question would be why. Well, the question is why, because if worldwide, the NBA is a juggernaut. Okay, it crushes there's no sport in North America that we play that has a bigger audience worldwide than the NBA. Okay, so that's 100%. They have marketed themselves, like a total genius. In 1994, when the Dream Team went to play in the Olympics, right? We were there in good old. By the way, thanks, Brent. We will definitely see you next time. Okay. It's always good to have you. So, ciao. Have a good day, buddy. The War on I-4. That's right. CF College, man. Definitely. Let's go down here. What you want? Yeah, it makes sense because a pro league is worldwide. You would have more value than college football, and that's where it is. If you look at it, right, you can walk into a sporting goods store, and I have in Paris, Rome. You can find obviously every soccer jersey on the planet. You can also find pretty much a number of different, in fairness, more Lakers and Warriors, but you can find a number of different NBA jerseys that you can buy. Australia, no matter where you go, you can buy them. There are sporting goods stores in England and a couple in Germany that have some NFL gear, but for the most part, it's 100% NBA. And it's a world game that we have right now. That, for instance, if you wanted to make it an analogy, it would be like we would have the English Premier League. The NBA is the English Premier League. Everybody wants to play, no matter where you play in the world. Everybody wants to play in the NBA. And look at all of the imported players, that we have now that have come here to play. So yeah, it's a big deal, and ratings wise, it's really, we're talking about like the Big Ten deal was probably the last big deal that college football is going to get. I doubt that baseball or hockey or anybody's going to rival the deals that the NFL and the NBA get ever again, because people are now, we're in the midst of a media recession. So you have to spend your bucks where it pays to spend it. And right now, your rate of return on the NBA and the NFL is way higher than baseball, hockey, and even some college sports. So the rate of return for networks right now is NFL football, NBA basketball. Everything else is on the margins. Do they make money? They do, but do they make as much? No. The other thing that we have to concern ourselves about is, since the RSNs have, not all of them, but some of them have had problems. If Diamond Sports goes bankrupt, and they filed for bankruptcy, but they filed for bankruptcy reorganization, there's money that has to be spent to pay off teams. Where's that money going to come from? So, keep an eye out for that. That's going to be a fascinating situation there. And as we saw over the past week, we saw the Phoenix Suns, we saw the Vegas Golden Knights and the Clippers all decide, okay, we're going to go back to what happened when I started in this business. And that was, I worked for like Raycom, Metro Sports, and a number of companies that syndicated games on a regional basis. Metro Sports, I did Notre Dame football and some Big Ten football. Raycom did the SEC and the ACC in basketball and football. So you cleared TV stations and you cleared cable channels, and so we had fun doing that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and is it going to pay them the kind of money that the cable did? No, it's not. or streaming for that matter. And again, you're going to have the ability to go from one one to the other, right? BYU fans travel extremely well. You, my friend, are absolutely 100% correct. They do. I've seen it many times in person, and they do. They have a fabulous fan base, as as does a number of these colleges around in the Big 12 and throughout the country. But yeah, BYU travels 100%. You're absolutely right on that one. And they travel, as I said, not unlike Notre Dame and that, where you have. I mean, you guys understand it. You know it. You know that there are fans of BYU who never attended BYU, probably never even been on the campus of BYU. There's that for. I mean, I know myself that I would go out and see, when I directed games of people who would come to the games and enjoy the games, but either went to another college or didn't even attend college, which is fine, but that's where they went. So let's see what we got. Katie, okay. This might be a dumb question. No, Katie, there is no such thing as a dumb question, because if it was a dumb question, I would have already asked it. So no problem there. Okay, this might be a dumb question. How much does a TV show cost compared with a broadcast football game with similar viewership? Yes. The answer to the question is your answer to the question, which is it seems like it would be cheaper. If you're doing a scripted TV show, okay, a scripted TV show costs, anywhere from probably $200,000 to $300,000 an episode to produce. And when I say that, can it be cheaper? Yes, 100% it can be cheaper. Can it be more expensive? Absolutely. If you think the Big Bang Theory, when it was when we're talking about hit programs, right? The Big Bang Theory had $1 million per actor on the show. So before you even did anything, okay, you had 6 actors making $6 million before you even rolled, the camera into one thing at all. So it costs a whole lot more money to produce a scripted situation, comedy or drama or whatever, than it does to produce a football game or a basketball game or any sport for that matter. Which is why, for all intents and purposes, the sports is good for TV because of 2 things. One, it's cheaper to produce, and 2, it's appointment television, right? If you and I, prime time's whatever you want, right, Katie? I mean, if you want to watch, whatever your favorite show is on TV, and I don't know what that is, you can tell me, go on. You watch your favorite show, you can watch it now whenever you feel like it. So I don't have to, if it's on at 8 o'clock and I got to make sure that I'm on to watch 8 o'clock, right? If it's my favorite show, I can watch it 7:45. I can watch it tomorrow, 2 days from now, whatever. And with video on demand from, all the services we're talking about, even if you use a DVR, you can, whenever you want to, you can watch it. That's not the case in sports, okay? It's called appointment television. There's only 2 appointment television situations. One is news and the other sport, okay? So there's a value. That's the value. The value in it is it has to be watched now. Unless, like I said, unless you want to watch a tape delay. And how many times have we all been through that routine? It's like, okay, I DVR'd that game. Don't tell me who won. Don't, anything. Like, I don't want to know anything about it. So it is. It's the value in sports is A, economics, and B, it's a time sensitive thing. So that's the value in sports. And does that make it cost effective? It can. It absolutely can. It's why we see so many reality shows. A reality show is costs a lot less to do than what you might have seen growing up in a variety show, like the old Carol Burnett show, or some of those old variety programs. That they cost money, but doesn't really cost money to do an American Idol or that kind of thing, because the people who are performing are not being paid a lot of money. So from that standpoint, that's where we go with it, right? So, any final questions here as we kind of wrap up a nice Tuesday with the gang here? So, okay. All right. No final questions. All right. Pencils down, and we'll see you guys again. Tell you what, we'll probably see it sometime tomorrow, maybe. Let's see what that's. This is actually, I've been doing this show for 4 years on podcast. And I decided recently that, it might be fun to do it this way. And you guys are helping me out as I've tested the case. And it's always fun to chat with you, either on Twitter normally or in this way. Don't thank me. Thank you for showing up. It's always good. Do me a favor, gang. Hit the subscribe button, the bell, and like us. And if there's comments, if you come up with comments later, you can hit me up on Twitter, or obviously you can, or you can leave the comments in the comment section below. Katie, I appreciate that. Katie, I'm going to ask you guys real quick. What's your favorite TV show other than sports? Do you have a favorite TV show? Something that you really enjoy and watch if you get a chance to? Pardon me, I just have to get a little bit of water here. So, all right. Let's see. So, all right. All right, so we will go ahead and get ready. Oh, wait, let's see. Katie's thinking. So, Succession. That's a good one. That's a very good choice. And Sippy likes some streaming shows. Yeah, it's very good. Succession is very good. It's one of those shows where you just you get into it and you're like hooked. You're like, I really enjoy it. And there's a new one. It's called The White House Plumbers. It's on HBO Max, which is a good one. Woody Harrelson, if you like Woody Harrelson, it's a Woody Harrelson one. And CFB likes some streaming shows personally. So, okay, cool. All right, gang. Look, again, thanks so very much. Wait a second. Citadel's not too. That's true too. Yeah, you got some good taste. In there. There's a lot of scripted TV out there right now, and there's a writer's strike. So it's probably good to go back and take a look at some of the other stuff, because you're not going to see any new stuff anytime soon. That's for sure. So anyway, cool. All right, everybody. Well, look, it's been fun, and we'll get back to you soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll probably see you guys on Twitter later. But for right now, let's call an end to this. But we will have some fun tomorrow. Okay. All right, gang. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow.